ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Arnold Telegar-Arda.
Man, they know who I am.
They know who you are.
They know who I am. Episode 22. We can drink now, right? Like you said last week.
Yes.
They know who I am.
We're kind of over the hill now because we passed our prime. 21. It's all downhill from here.
It ain't downhill for Pro and Bro Wrestling, man, because, like I said, the people know who I am. Mm-hmm. Mr. No Days Off,
yes.
Fred Rosser, formerly known as Darren Young. They know me.
Mm-hmm. They got you, man.
The most handsome gay man on the planet.
What was your gimmick last week? You said the handsome hustler?
The handsome hustler, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour.
Double H.
Don't count me out. Double H is what they call me.
Mm-hmm. I dig it. And it's been a crazy week for pro wrestling, and we'll get into all that later. But before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us visually, don't forget to like and leave us a comment down below. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and leave a review so we know what we can do better. And again, I always say this, but it's going to be another fun episode today.
Oh, a very special episode. I say all the time, Arnold. Every guest that we have on Pro and Bro Wrestling is very important and very meaningful to me.
Yes.
I can proudly say we have WWE referee Shawn Bennett, a very close friend of mine where we started together in West Patterson, New Jersey. And we have so much to talk about, man. He's the closest to the action. He's so important, man.
Yeah.
And Bennett, he'll let you know whether something looks like shit or whether something looks good.
Huh.
And he's good at remembering spots. And I don't think he's ever been out of place for anything because it takes 3 to tango.
Wow.
And I'll repeat myself a lot with Bennett.
Right.
And with you. But this is going to be off the hook. This episode is going to be special, man. And he got the okay to do this, which is very important to me. People want to know his story. I want to know his story. I want to know funny stuff. I want to know funny stuff that he's had to deal with in wrestling and the trials and tribulations that he's went through. Also, one of the sacrifices that Bennett made was coming down to Tampa, Florida at one time to live with me.
Oh, wow.
And this was during, I think, he's probably better at explaining things,
mm-hmm.
but during the Nexus, I was hardly home. I was home maybe a day and a half, and then I was out. So he was staying in my place for maybe 6 months, a year. Again, Bennett.
Eating your food, eating your nutrition solutions.
No, I wasn't. I didn't have
You're
nutrition solutions then. I was just starting off, you know?
Yeah.
But again, he's got some great stories to share, and I'm glad he got the clearance to be on Pro and Bro Wrestling.
I consider him a WWE superstar. He's employed by WWE.
Bro,
he's in the ring. That counts.
He can walk the walk and talk the talk. I mean, he can, if he needed to wrestle, he can wrestle.
Wow.
If he needed to cut a promo, he can cut a promo. If he needs to set up the ring, he knows how to set up the ring. You know, so
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, and I'm so proud of him, man.
That's awesome,
I'm so proud of him. I remember the last time I seen him, I waited for him after one of the shows, and he's like, "Oh, Samson." He calls me Samson, and he'll explain why. I'm going to be a while. I have to take down the ring. I said, "No problem." So I was like a proud papa because I was like, the fans were already gone. I was just sitting there. Just so proud of my boy, you know.
There he is.
You know, breaking down the ring, and he's a boss.
He's like all grown up.
He's all grown up. And he's a boss.
Yeah.
He knows how to get all of the workers that work at the arena to break everything down because he says the faster you break everything down, the faster you can get the hell out of there. So everyone is working together to break down everything to go to the next city. So
that's a good mentality to have.
I'm very excited to have him on. Look at me. It's very rare you check me out in a wrestling shirt.
Yeah, that's a badass wrestling shirt.
I don't know. Maybe the last time I bought a wrestling shirt was probably 94.
That's crazy, man.
94.
And that's really dope, too.
Pro Wrestling Tees I was able to visit when I was in Chicago. I said, I've never been there, so let me check it out. I got this.
So for those of you listening right now, he's rocking a Razor Ramon shirt, but it's a playoff of the band Ramones. And it's actually for Razor Ramones, which is badass, man.
Yeah, I got you something too.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, don't say I didn't get you anything.
Did that count as a bump?
Well, you didn't sell it.
That's right.
You didn't sell it.
That was like a shoot on my part, but oh damn. Dude, I told you this before, but Bret the Hitman Hart is the one shirt that I don't have, and dude, I would rock this every day, man. It's the Hitman, bro.
Yeah, I called you when I was over there, and there were tons of fans actually meeting their guests that they had there, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
And I had you on a FaceTime, and like people were like, the fans were like wondering who I was talking to, you know? So yeah, that's why I did that on purpose.
That's cool. That's cool. Thank you, bro.
If I'm a fan and I see a wrestler, I'm gonna be like,
yeah,
who's he talking to?
Yeah.
Who's he talking to? So
Yeah.
I could see people were like,
I love
checking.
that. I love that. Thank you, man. So yeah, he did FaceTime me, and he was like saying, "Oh, what shirt do you want?" I'm at Pro Wrestling Tees right now, and he flipped the phone and he showed me all the shirts and displayed, and like I didn't really need that much time to think about it because I just saw a Bret Hart shirt. I'm like, I don't need to see anything else. Like. That one, please.
And you got The Rock?
Yeah, I'm rocking The Rock's t-shirt. Right? It's not really his merch, but it's a company that makes wrestling shirts, and the material's super comfortable, and it's The Rock in the Attitude Era.
When you walked me into the compound, I was like, oh, what did I say? I was like, oh, I've never seen that. He's like, yeah, that's The Rock. I said, I know who it is, damn it. What the hell's wrong with you? I know who Dwayne is.
I was so used to hanging out with non-wrestling fans that sometimes things like that just come out, you know? But I was like, this is the star from Fast and Furious. Hobbs and Shaw.
Man, imagine, has Scott Hall and Dwayne ever worked?
Huh. Yes. Well, not a match. Well, actually, no, they haven't. But
you're the professor.
They never wrestled a match officially, but they did get into a little brawl when the NWO came back.
Right.
They would attack Austin, The Rock, you know?
That's right.
And of course, the backstage segment with The Rock going, "You, Razor Ramon,
yeah."
Chico,
oh, yes.
And Diesel, honk, honk.
Yes. And I think Scott Hall took a couple rock bottoms, right?
Yeah, he did.
Rock was at the top, so why not get that rub?
That's true, man. That's true. It was a crazy time in wrestling. Like two worlds collide, like NWO and Austin Attitude Era. At that time, we weren't that spoiled yet. Sometimes we weren't getting dream matches like that. That was like our first, like, oh my god, this is really happening. You know, Mike Tyson and Ali, like for real. But that was really cool. But yeah, that was a really cool time, and I wish they really had a match together. Bret Hart and The Rock had a match.
Ah, yes.
When he was Rocky Maivia.
Yeah, on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's a classic that I remember.
Yeah. That was, like, now looking at that match, it's so weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel like that's like a dream. Like, that match didn't happen, but
yes.
it did.
Yes, we'll probably have to check it out, man.
Yeah.
And relive it after this amazing episode of Pro Wrestling. Time is money, man. So we got to get referee Shawn Bennett online, man.
Let's
because
do it.
like, he don't get much time off.
This is an honor for us, man.
So stand by.
That's all we can do, really.
So, Arno, we have a very special guest that's live and in color on Pro Wrestling. Our special guest, please do not say a damn word. Don't say a damn word because I got to give you a special introduction. This special guest is the closest to the action. I remember watching him break down the ring recently, and he said, Samson, he calls me Samson, I'm going to be a while. I said, I don't care, man. And I felt like I was a proud papa watching him break down the ring and watching him delegate all the work to all the union workers. He says, the faster you guys break down the ring, the faster you guys can get out of here. He's a special friend of mine, very special friend of mine, and I'm so happy that he's making incredible moves with WWE. I'm proud to announce that he is WWE referee. Shawn Bennett is live and in color on Pro Wrestling. Thank you, homie, for being live.
Hey, welcome, man.
Man, it is absolutely my pleasure to talk to you and Arnold today. Great to see you because I can see you guys as we're recording this. Unfortunately, it's just audio in the podcast world. But the cool thing for me is I've never done one of these before.
Yes.
This is literally the first time I've ever asked WWE for permission to do a podcast. Luckily enough, they were able to say yes and give me a chance to talk to you guys today.
I always say don't die with the story and you tell it. And, you grinded just like me. We started in a garage together. I think you started before me. You're a better storyteller. I say the one thing about referee Shawn Bennett is that he can walk the walk, talk the talk. He can wrestle. If he needs to cut a promo, he can cut a promo. If he needs to break down the ring, he can break down the ring. He can do it all, you know?
Jack of all trades.
He can do it all.
I appreciate that. You know, one thing, our wrestling school, which was IWF in West Patterson, New Jersey, and Kevin Knight, he was very good from the beginning about making sure everybody knew how to do everything.
Wow.
So there were shows I would ring announce. Did I want to ring announce? No, I wanted to referee. There were shows I would manage the baby faces or the heels. And did I want to do that? No, I always wanted to referee from day one.
Wow.
I knew right from when I was a kid. I'd watch wrestling and I would say, I can't be the big guy or the other big guy, but I can be that guy in the middle. And I've been lucky enough to do that for quite a while now.
So Earl Hebner was your dude growing up.
Mike Chioda was my dude.
Oh, okay.
Mike Chioda was the guy I always wanted to be, and now he's a coworker, and we're both from New Jersey. Actually, we call each other Jersey when we see each other. That's kind of a thing that he's been doing for years. Hey, Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to be able to consider him, a coworker and a good friend nowadays.
Yeah, Mike Chioda is such a legend. I remember the one time that I got to go backstage for Survivor Series because I went with him. I actually got to meet him, and we all grabbed sushi together, and it was
awesome.
It was us, Mike Chioda, and R-Truth.
And don't forget about Danilo. Danilo was
there too. And I was like in the car, and I think Mike Chioda, was he driving or shotgun? I think it was like shotgun.
Yeah,
right?
he was shotgun.
And I'm like, holy crap, man! Like I'm in the same car as Mike Chioda. I've been watching his work since like the early '90s, like refereeing classic matches, and I'm just like, I had to pinch myself, man.
To steal a term from Freddie here, he's an OG.
Yes, he is.
And there's a lot of OGs around, and when you get a chance to hang out with guys like that and you talk with them, you can learn a lot.
You were just getting started, Bennett, because I don't think you've ever been out of place for anything when it came to like working in the ring, or you were.
Oh, I can think of a whole bunch of times, but if the people aren't noticing it, then something's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I've never noticed it. I never noticed it, and I think you were one guy when I first started. You would help me. It was you and Travis Blake that would help me maybe remember spots because I couldn't remember anything. You guys would help me remember spots, and you would always let me know if something looked good in the ring. Oh, Samson, that looked good. Or you would let guys know if something looked like shit. And that's what we need, an honest opinion, because you're the closest to the action. And you are just getting started, Bennett. Your career is just getting started, man.
I'm going to stick around as long as they'll let me. That's for sure.
Yes.
It's the gratitude era.
Yeah, very much. The company right now is filled with people that are happy to be there.
That's awesome.
It does after a while become a job. Some travel days that you hope you never have to deal with.
Yeah.
But when the chance, at the end of the day, we get to the show, we put on a good show, we put smiles on people's faces to steal, the company line, and you walk out of the arena at the end of the day knowing you did a good day's work and you made some people's day.
Yeah.
No matter whether we're in a smaller city, whether in one of the bigger markets, you get in the ring and you see the people in the front row, they're leaving their problems behind for a while.
Yeah,
and they're enjoying their quality entertainment, quality family entertainment. They're enjoying each other's company as much as they're enjoying the show. Families coming together. It kind of warms your heart when everything's kind of clicking and all the wheels are in motion and we're doing what we're out there to do.
That has to be satisfying for you as a performer, being in the ring and leaving.
Not just as a performer. In a prior life, I actually worked in restaurant management, and I always got a weird satisfaction from being one of the first people in the restaurant early in the day, and then being one of the last ones to leave at the end of the day. And now in wrestling, I do the same thing. For our live events, I'm in the building usually around 9 o'clock in the morning, putting the ring up.
Yeah.
Usually finish around noon. Take some time, sightsee, work out, catch a nap. Do whatever there is to do in the town.
Yeah.
Go back, referee the show, and then I take the ring down after the show, and I'm usually finishing up around midnight, 12:30 a.m.
Wow.
And travel on a tour bus with the rest of the production crew and do it all again the next day.
WWE must love you, man, because you have like that work mentality, and again, you can do everything, which is what they ask for in all their performance. So, man, you got to be like the employee of the month, like every month.
But the thing with WWE is everybody works just as hard. You watch the TV show Monday Night Raw, SmackDown. There's 150 people that are at that show every week that you never see. From the guys moving cables to the guys pressing play on the audio to the guys focusing the lights. There are hundreds of people that travel with us all over the world and help put on the show. and we're all checking all the boxes every day because that's the reason. We all love it, and WWE only keeps the best around.
That's awesome, man.
It's
very fortunate.
It's like controlled chaos, People don't see.
Oh my God.
People don't see what's going on backstage, but it's controlled chaos, and we're able to put on a beautiful product that I'm still a fan of, Bennett, we've all had ups and downs in our career. WWE has seen me from 2003 to 2009, man. They shut the door in my face over 30 times, man, until I got that one yes. May 4th, 2009, a tryout out of 75 guys and girls from all over the world.
I was at that tryout.
Yeah, you were there. I was able to beat them all out, man. We grinded, man. Take us on that ride. Like, what have been some of your ups and downs, some of the sacrifice? We lived together, remember?
A little bit, yeah.
So,
yeah. As soon as I finished college, I came down to Tampa, and I think I spent about 4 months with you trying to get in. I would call Dr. Tom Pritchard, who was head of the developmental system at the time. And I'd call him probably about once a week. And every week he would say, you can come and watch the show today, but nothing for you. That's right when you were just finishing up with the first season of NXT. And when I got down and I was staying with you, you were on the road every week going full grind with the first Nexus angle, leading up to the SummerSlam match that you guys had. So I remember you would come home on Wednesday, you'd crash for a few hours, and then I wouldn't see you because you would just. Now I understand. I left my house at 9 o'clock this morning. I just came home now to do this interview with you guys, and then I got to leave as soon as I'm done with you guys.
Wow.
Go get a haircut because I fly out tomorrow at 7 a.m. to go to Canada for a few days, and then from there I go to Madison Square Garden for Raw. So it's just you got to check all the boxes and get everything done.
Bennett.
About the grind, like you were saying, I started refereeing in 2002. July 2002, Camp IWF in New Jersey. I think you started probably August or September. Right? Just September? Yeah, a few months later. And, I refereed independent wrestling for 10 and a half years.
Wow.
Finished high school, finished college, did some time as a restaurant manager, did some time working in staffing, putting people in jobs. And then the last job I had right before WWE, I was doing medical sales, wearing a suit every day, visiting doctors' offices.
Wow.
On the wrestling side of things, one thing I kind of learned from the wrestling school we went to was I kind of tried to get myself into all the independent organizations that it seemed were A, quality experience, and B, had connections into the office. The crazy thing is in the long run, the experience was awesome, but really those connections didn't really do much. It ended up being some whims and then getting in with the right people years later that would get me the job I have.
Right.
In 2009, I did the tryout with Fred. I was told no. They hired a different referee out of there, Rod Zapata, who's still with the company. Really good guy. We work together every Monday. I was actually almost out of wrestling for the most part. I was not really taking good care of myself. I was really heavy. And then it was on my 25th birthday, I got a direct message on Twitter from WWE producer Scott Armstrong.
Wow.
Bull Dempsey, who was with NXT for a while, had sent him a match to watch. And Scotty liked Bull, but he also said to Bull, hey, who's your friend? Who's the ref in the video? Bull said some nice things about me. Scotty followed me on Twitter. And, 3 months later, I was doing a week of WWE shows. And, I think April of the next year, I signed my contract and moved to Tampa because that's where the system was at the time before it moved to Orlando.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I have a question. We kind of know how wrestlers come up in the business. There's so many wrestling schools out there. How did you, where did you start learning to become a referee? And does the WWE Performance Centers have a class for referees as well?
So, on the wrestling school side of things, I would kind of say it was just on the job. Okay. Watching tape, and, there were a few guys at IWF back then who had done a little refereeing here and there, and, it was kind of just figuring out as I would go. And actually, I learned a lot about how to referee from Kevin, our trainer, making me do the wrestling classes. I would wrestle full matches in practice. And once I started doing that more often, every week, it would give me a much better sense of what I was able to do as a referee to help the guys while they're wrestling.
Wow.
And I have never actually wrestled on shows, in front of a crowd. But at one point I was, very, very capable of doing it in practice and keeping up with the guys, just enough to have some fun and keep myself in shape.
Yeah.
Once I got to the Performance Center, that changed. Bill DeMont was the head coach at the time, and he was very much of the mindset that once we're there to referee, we're there to referee. He didn't want us taking body slams and suplexes and running around like crazy, because if we got hurt doing that and then we weren't able to referee,
right,
you know, the office would want to know, well, why was he doing that in the first place? That's not what he's hired to do.
Right.
So nowadays, you know, I don't really take as many bumps unless it calls for it on a show, or, you know, I'll get in there and bounce around every now and then just to kind of feel the ring and keep myself in shape, but not nearly as much as I was for a while. At the Performance Center, we're very lucky because, you know, when it first opened, we had the guys from the main roster. You know, every time we did NXT TV, they would send one of the main roster referees, John Cohen, Chad Patton, Scott Armstrong back when he was still reffing, you know, Kyoto. They would come down and do one of our TV tapings and watch us referee and give us feedback.
Wow.
You know, now that NXT has become its own brand, you know, they have Drake Wart's down there. He's been on the show a whole bunch of years, so he basically works with the guys that are just coming in.
Right.
And yeah, it's cool. I've actually been lucky enough to have hands in training some of the newer refs that we brought in right before I got called up. Eddie Arengo, who's a referee that by the time this podcast makes its way to iTunes and other platforms, is supposed to debut on Monday Night Raw.
Ooh.
Hopefully that actually happens.
Wow.
He was a guy that the WWE came to me and said, we need somebody that can do your job and checks a few other boxes, and Eddie was the guy. And, you know, we brought him in, and basically Drake and I, and even Danilo, taught him how to referee from scratch. And now he's actually moving out of NXT to the main show, so that's really exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I tell the world I have such a crush on Eddie. He's such a good guy, such a handsome young man. He's one guy that I get so shy I can't look in the eye. Again, that's me being wacky. But you know, you're like the closest to the action, Bennett. Like I said, what were some serious injuries that you have like seen in person?
Ooh, good one.
The first thing that jumps out, and this is something, you know, it's just sort of one of the most unfortunate instances I've ever seen. Nassau Coliseum, the Christmas tour, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, I was the referee in the ring during Paige's last match.
Oh, man.
You know, she had some neck issues before, and then something happened, totally accidental in the ring, and yeah, it was a scary moment. You know, we stopped the match. And unfortunately, you know, she hasn't been cleared for competition since, and I guess just recently she had to have another procedure done on her neck. So that's definitely top of the list. You know, you see instances where guys, you know, trying to think. Recently, I did a match on pay-per-view where Rey Mysterio accidentally crushed Samoa Joe's face.
Right, I remember that.
The ring was getting really messy, and then things kind of got a little out of control in that situation.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing that I can't think of a million others popping into my head.
Yeah,
that is.
Because, you know, as few and far between instances like that are, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like to tell our audience is that the WWE officials are taken seriously, and which they should be taken seriously. No one should, unless it's like storyline purposes, no one should put their hands on the ref, you know, eye pokes, choking, all that stuff. So you guys are officials. If you guys, if they go past the 5 count, you can be disqualified.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So you guys,
and then that comes from the top of WWE.
Yeah,
I think it's important. I think it's important.
The company wants the referees to have credibility at all times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I agree. And oh man,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I will, like, as a kid, I love moments when Triple H would push a referee and the referee pushes back, and I would like pop, you know, and then you see Triple H's like fear, like, okay, my bad, I'm out of line here, like, I'm sorry, and I like those moments are super cool for me.
Times have changed in that regard, but you know, there was an instance on pay-per-view a few months ago with John Cone and Baron Corbin. So when stories call for it, you know, the referee will have a little backbone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, save it for when it's the right time.
Exactly.
What was your favorite match to referee, if you can think of one?
The one thing about referees, you know, wrestlers, they're having one match a night. We're probably having, on live events, 4 to 5.
Sure.
And on TV, probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I can give you maybe 2 or 3 that jump out real quick. Really high up there was my first match at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
It was Luke Harper against Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title.
Nice.
And anytime you get the chance to referee a Dolph Ziggler match, it's a night off for the referee because he's just so good to be in the ring with, and B, opening match at Madison Square Garden, the week of Christmas, sold out house.
Huge.
Very, very exciting time.
And that's when Luke was the IC champion, right?
Beg your pardon?
And that's when Harper was the IC champion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Or they were passing it back and forth. I don't remember who had it going in, or it all kind of blurs together after a while.
Sure.
More recently, at Money in the Bank this past June, I couldn't tell you. I got to referee Seth Rollins against AJ Styles for the for the Universal Championship.
Amazing.
That was very exciting. It's just the higher quality the talent, the easier it is for the referee.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
it's a day off working with those guys because you can depend on them to be where they need to be and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Just like they're depending on you to do your role in the match as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what makes me even more proud is to see you ref a Triple H match, who's a favorite of mine. To see you to be in there with Triple H it makes me want to cry, man.
I've yet to work with Triple H on any of our television shows, but I've been lucky enough to do a whole bunch of live events with him. Probably the coolest one so far was him against Jinder Mahal in Delhi, India.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was they did about a 30-minute match main event in front of a sold-out crowd in India, and it was awesome just to see the way Triple H can control a crowd and tell his stories and get to be a part of it. Definitely one of my favorites.
Like those type of matches, is a lot of it pretty much on the fly, or do we design a story kind of?
Yeah, that match, considering it wasn't on television, they had a little more freedom.
Yeah.
To just kind of go out there and feel the crowd.
Yeah.
Because the parameters that we need to fit in on TV weren't there.
Yes.
Without going into huge detail about the difference between live events and television, I don't really want to get into that.
Sure.
But on live events, we're able to have a lot more fun in the moment and just entertain the crowd that's there to watch us, as opposed to putting on a television show that's being seen by millions at the same time around the world.
Exactly. I'm guilty of live events. If I'm a baby face and I want to get a rise out of the crowd, I'll do it away from the announce table, in the back. I'll do it away from the sound table where the producer is, and I'll flip off the heel, and I'll hear the fans, so I'll
tell you, one thing I remember about refereeing for you is there were times you'd get into the moment and some of the words that come out of your mouth, man, they weren't really that PC.
Potty mouth, huh?
Yeah, man, because I just like to get a rise from the crowd. Live events, have a little fun. I remember one time I got in trouble from one of the producers, and thank goodness I didn't get fined. But a lot of that stuff you can get fined over. I remember Percy Watson was cursing at someone on NXT, and we got brought into the office, and John Laurinaitis was like, "You guys are cursing." I said, "No, I was not cursing. I was not cursing. I did not want to get that fine." And I remember Percy, and I think Titus got fined, but I didn't get fined at all. So, you got to be careful on those TVs.
Very cool.
A lot of people know that it takes two to tango for a wrestling match, but a lot of people don't realize that the referee is like the third dance partner. As a referee, what's the hardest thing about being a ref that most people don't know about?
Good question. For television, we need to do our job, but not necessarily interfere with the production of the TV show. So we need to be in the right place at the right time to tell the story. We need to fade into the back when the story isn't really about us and it's about the guys. But when there's a moment in the match that the official should be involved in, we kind of push forward a little bit and make ourselves seen and heard a little more to help tell the story. So I think the biggest thing for me, transitioning from the independents to WWE was learning that. Learning the different camera angles and learning when it's proper for me to move into the camera frame and be a part of the story and when it doesn't really call for it.
Got it.
So,
from city to city, you're able to have a little downtime and sightsee and all that stuff, can you name any of your favorite cities that you've been able to go to, and like what do you like to collect in these cities?
The biggest thing I collect, and I haven't really figured out a way to display them yet. I probably have close to 4 different. Basically, anything I do, I buy a magnet.
Oh.
I'm not really sure what I'll end up doing with them when the time is right. They'll probably take up a full wall or two in my house. Yeah, it's very cool. With WWE, we get to travel all over the world. And on a lot of the international trips, because I do the ring, I don't necessarily do every show on the trip. I split all the Raw shows with Chad Patton, who's been with the company going on 25 years.
Wow.
We get to learn from him all the time, which is really cool. So what I like to do is if I can figure out a way to spend an extra day in a city, I will. So I've gotten to go see the Taj Mahal. I've gotten to spend extra time in Singapore, extra time in Australia. In the U.S., I've been to, some cities that I really like. I like the ones that are kind of off the grid. Austin, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, is one of my favorite cities. Yeah,
Tulsa.
You don't really expect it, and then you walk around and you get a feel for it, and you get a feel for the people, and there's so much to do, even though it's such a little town compared to some of the places we go.
Tulsa. You remember Max McGirt?
I do.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where Hurt McGirt is from.
I get that reference, that's for sure. That's awesome.
Hurt McGirt, man, because he had so many concussions. Him and I were like this, man. We were tight. We were boys. Mm-hmm. And, like, he started partying and stuff like that in Tampa, Florida. I'm like, come on, you got to take wrestling seriously, He wasn't taking it seriously. He was getting concussion after concussion, and then that was it for him. But anytime I'm in Tulsa, I always visit him. He always visits me at the hotel when I was with you guys. So, it was great.
I didn't get to know him as much as you. I just know anytime I've had an interaction, he was always a really nice guy. And I thought it was really cool that he was second generation. His mom was the ring announcer, Mike McGurk.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were talking about this before we went live, but it really makes me so happy that you're a huge wrestling action figure collector.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's really cool. For those of you that can't see right now, he has a big case of action figures behind him.
I don't buy all of them. I bet figures
you don't, man.
of people that I buy figures of people that I have a connection with.
Oh,
people
that's
I consider
special.
Friends. People I can I've reffed major matches for.
Wow.
It's modest compared to some people I work with. That's for sure.
Sure, Zack
But
Ryder.
it is pretty cool though. Just recently, I was I know Fred was too, a big fan of A, watching, and B, working with Chris Candido.
Yes.
And recently, Kurt Hawkins found a signed Chris Candido action figure.
Wow.
And he had one, but he bought this one to see if this one was better than the one he had in better shape.
Yeah.
And after he compared the two, he actually gave me the one that he didn't keep as a gift because he knows Chris was one of my favorite wrestlers, and refereeing for Chris was one of my favorite things to do when I was young. Very, very cool.
The one piece of advice I learned from Chris is like he always said no one should be held down to a company unless you're making six figures, Everyone should be able to go out and explore wrestling and just have fun. That's why when I was at IWF, I had moved on to ECPW that was nearby because I wanted to work out with guys that had more experience, and I wanted to learn how to call stuff rather than just go in there and go on the fly.
Years ago, Jim Kettner, who was the promoter for ECWA in Delaware and promoted the Super 8 tournament, which was covered by all the magazines when we were younger. He actually wrote me a nice little letter of recommendation one time when I was trying to push through and get a job with WWE. And one thing he wrote in the letter about me was that I was able to adapt to any style match and referee it accordingly.
Nice.
And I always that compliment has stood with me forever because I worked for so many different promotions, and we'd be up in New England working for Chaotic Wrestling, and that would be more like a WWE style match. Yeah. And then we'd go to down to Delaware, and that was more of a slow family style match. Yes. And then in the same weekend I'd be out working for Jersey All Pro in New Jersey, and that would be more of like a smart wrestling fan kind of match with a little more going on, and referees, the rules weren't as important, but we were just as important in getting the action and the story across.
Yeah.
So knowing when to push forward and when to pull back in the role of referee has helped me, you know, in all the different places I've gotten to work over the years.
Yeah. You talked about Mike Chioda earlier about him being your guy growing up. How about for like a wrestler? Who did you look up to?
Yeah, what was maybe the one match that stood out to you, or whatever, your favorite wrestler?
The storyline that got me involved in pro wrestling and really like made me invested was the whole Sting and Hulk Hogan Starrcade 97.
Yeah.
Got me hooked. I was, you know, I grew up in the Northeast, so it's kind of weird to say that I was a WCW fan before WWE, but, you know, I remember, you know, losing sleep during the rematch of Super Brawl 8 between Sting and Hogan after the finish with the fast count at Starrcade 97. The Sting and Hogan story. I was so fascinated by this character that was just up in the ceiling and didn't talk. I was so fascinated by that. I didn't know anything about the movie The Crow. I barely knew what Sting's persona was beforehand.
Oh,
you know,
which was my favorite.
He loves Surfer Sting.
I love the Surfer Sting, the blonde. Keep going.
That's awesome. I remember literally losing sleep the night of the rematch, and like I'd wake up in the morning and rush to the computer and log on to like Prodigy or AOL or whatever I had at the time, just to try and read the results and see what happened. Because it wasn't like, you know, nowadays you know, if a game's on or you're trying to follow something, you can lay in bed on your phone, roll over and see what happened.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't like that. You had to wait for somebody to take the time to post it, and you had to go to your computer and you had to do the dial-up and you know. Yeah, it's funny talking about that stuff because people, you know, now we're so used to having everything at our phone. A real quick, funny side note, I was talking to one of my friends recently, and I had the realization that my first wrestling shows are on VHS. Like the ones I was on.
Yeah.
Like my first matches are on VHS tapes.
Epic.
And just to see, like I have them in the closet here. I don't even know how I would watch them.
You're going to be like Shawn Donovan, who we had maybe 2 weeks ago on Promo Wrestling.
I listened to it. Yeah.
Well, you got to have him like convert them to like you did.
Digital format.
He's got everything, man.
I know he does. I make fun of him because he did all that work back in the day, and now $9.99 you can watch it really easy.
Speaking of that Sting storyline, I was hooked on that too because to me, I think maybe till this day, it still might be like the longest build. That was almost like a year and a half of him not talking, you know. And I still remember after he got his championship taken back, the first words that came out of his mouth was I believe it was to JJ Dillon. It goes like, "You have no guts," and he pointed to Hogan, and he's like, "You're a dead man." Oh, I was like, "Sting talk, Sting talk." I was like, "Oh, I was so happy."
I think it was the first episode of Thunder.
That's right, yeah, and I think the episode of Thunder is also when Jericho first turned heel too.
I see. I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah.
Two questions from me. What's like, because you and I grinded on the independents and what we do now.
Many miles.
What's that?
Many miles together. You and me, we would, you know, in the same weekend, we would meet up in New Jersey. We would drive up to Boston, do shows up there. We would turn around and we'd be down in, Newark, Delaware the next day. You know, you, me, Tommy Trouble, Danilo, Sean Royal, sometimes Eric Andretti, sometimes Roman, sometimes Shawn Donovan, the whole, the OG IWF crew.
And, you know,
we would,
and Danilo, WWE referee, I would want to kill him sometimes because it would be his turn to drive and he wouldn't want to drive. And I would be furious. I don't think I talked to him for the longest because when it was his turn to drive, he wouldn't want to drive. But now he's doing great things with WWE. What's the best piece of advice, which I was going with, like that you would give to a referee or someone that wants to get into the wrestling business, WWE, or just want to do this for a hobby?
Find a proper school to start. Get as many reps as possible. And once you have, the reps down, find the quality. Stick with the quality. Don't put yourself in any situations where you're going to get hurt, any situations where something dangerous is going to happen, any situations where you're around people that are doing things that shouldn't be done in a locker room. In the year, 2019, like we are now, the independents are a much different place than when you and I came in, Fred.
Yes.
I saw things at 15, 16 happening in some of these locker rooms that I flat out just, shouldn't even talk about.
Yes.
I think that isn't nearly as widespread as it is now in the independents. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of quality out there. I love it. I love every now and then I'll get the chance to go to an independent show or visit a wrestling school, and it makes me so happy that there's still so many people that want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And that wrestling is doing so well.
Yeah.
Because guys like me, nobody pays to see a referee. I understand that right from day one.
But I appreciate you, and we appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I understand that, and it's nice to be appreciated, but referees aren't selling tickets. So when I visit wrestling schools and see independent shows and see all these guys that still, want to be a part of this awesome world that we have, it makes me happy because it means I hopefully will have guys to referee for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm a background character. I love my role. I love that the focus isn't necessarily 100% on me, but I get to play a part of the show.
Yes.
And, seeing guys come up and, I can give them one or two little pieces of advice when I see them. And, maybe they don't understand it when I first tell them. But, 6 months later, or if they get a WWE tryout or, in other situations, they'll go, oh, that's what that guy who talked to me that day meant.
Right.
And Shawn Bennett is a no-nonsense type of guy. He will let you know if something looks like shit, or he will let you know if something looks like money. Honesty is the best policy. What's a funny Fred Ross or Darren Young story that you can remember in our 16-plus years? 16-plus years, man. We're veterans. What's a funny story?
First thing I'll say is I was looking through some old paperwork when I was setting up my office recently, and I thought it was cool that you and I graduated the IWF wrestling school on the same day. The only thing that stuck out to me was my graduation was with another guy who didn't stick around during intermission, and Fred's graduation. This is how Fred was. His graduation was after he won the heavyweight title in the main event.
Wow.
I was the referee for that match, but I got bumped during the match by either Fred or Kevin Knight, who we wrestled, and another referee finished. I went into that match not knowing if Fred was winning. That's how close to the chest, or vest, whatever the expression is.
Wow.
They were keeping it.
Yeah.
Another thing I remember very, very clearly is Fred had turned heel at IWF, and he was beating up some baby faces, and we sent out the referees to try and stop him. And he grabs me and he goes, "Take a bump." And he gorilla presses me over his head and just throws me up and steps forward like Scott Steiner would do to people. And before I knew it, I was up and I was down and I hit the mat and I was totally fine. Everything was okay.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, wow, this guy just, I was probably 17, 18 at the time. And I was literally just manhandled. It was just up and down. It was one of the scariest, but looking back, coolest moments.
That's awesome, man.
Well, Bennett, time is money. I know you, after this podcast, you got to get a haircut because you're making moves.
Back on the road tomorrow.
Back on the road
going up to Canada for 2 shows, and then a travel day to New York City for Raw at Madison Square Garden, which I believe this podcast will come out after that's happened. So, it's the first time we're doing WWE television at Madison Square Garden in, somebody said, close to 10 years. So that's very exciting for us. Looking forward to that.
I'm sure people are hitting you up for tickets like they used to do me. You know what I mean? The ones that I love, keep talking.
If it's New York, New Jersey, my mom and my brother get first dibs. They've been supporting me since the very beginning. I was refereeing at 14, and my mom was driving me to wrestling school. My brother, he was 4 or 5 years old, coming and sitting in the crowd. And my mother used to drive me out to Allentown, Pennsylvania to referee for the Samoans, drive me all over New Jersey. So I'm very, very blessed. And anytime they get to come and watch me, it's an extra special day at work.
That's what I'm talking about. Those are the sacrifices. Whoever's listening to this podcast, those are the sacrifices that we have to make, you have to make. You were able to do recently a WXW show, correct?
Yeah, head shrinker Samu, who I've known since I was probably 16 and first started going out to Allentown. Unfortunately, he's been diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer, and he's on the transplant list.
Wow.
Fortunately, he's doing very well. I saw him a few months ago. He looks great. His spirits are high, and WWE sent a whole bunch of us to a show that they had, to help raise money for the procedure.
Great.
Funny story. I was actually going out to Allentown working for the Samoans. I was underage. Hopefully nobody can get in trouble for this now when they, if they hear this. But in Pennsylvania, you had to be 18 to be on wrestling shows. So Alpha, if the commission showed up, he'd come up to me and he would go, "Son, cover up." And I would put a hoodie on over my referee shirt. I would go to the curtain. I would take the hoodie off. I'd go to the ring referee. I would come back and put the hoodie back on. This way I wasn't walking around backstage where the commission guys were, looking all young with the referee shirt on.
Yeah.
The first time I actually met Head Shrinker Samu, he's really special to me, so I'll tell you one more quick story.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a show at Fernwood, which was a resort they actually used to do Monday Night Raw in Bushkill, Pennsylvania. And I had a tag match that he was in. And he comes up to me, first time meeting him, he goes, "You reffing my match?" I went, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Don't F it up."
Yeah.
and walked away. Didn't tell me anything about the match. So I refereed the match. I came back. He told me I did a good job. And then he actually booked me for some shows he was running separate from his father. And then I had to tell him my age, and he still told me to come show up. So
there you go.
Yeah. It's very, very cool.
Bennett, I need tickets for MSG. I'm going to be there. I want to be in the crowd. I need tickets.
You're going to be in New York?
I need tickets, man.
I'm
just joking. But I know how it is. Usually that if it's your mom that asks me for tickets, she's getting front row. If it's someone like Shawn Donovan that asks me for tickets, I say to Koshe, put them in the nosebleeds. So, I'm a man of my word. You're going to get tickets, but your ass is going to be in the nosebleed. But your mom, she's going to be front row.
That's funny, man.
No, but I know time is money, Bennett. Thank you. Anything else, Arnold?
That was so much educational, man. I loved every single, and I just appreciate how alike we are with the whole wrestling stuff, and obviously a little bit of Power Rangers before we ran live.
It's all I've known since I was 14. I've grown up in it. Hopefully, get to spend a lot more time in it, and just enjoy every day, because you never know how much longer it's going to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
So, none of us, wrestling doesn't owe any of us anything.
Yes.
We just got to keep working and earning our keep.
And we're Scorpios. You got a birthday coming up, right?
October 25th.
October 25th. I'm November 2nd. I'm going to be 36. How old are you going to be?
32.
32,
wow.
baby. You look
Bigger
great.
than me, man.
You look great. You just came back from the gym to do the podcast. Health is wealth. Thank you, Bennett, man. I love you. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. And
I do, Samson.
Hopefully we can have you on again.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much, man.
I love to. This was great. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, peace out.
Have a good one, man.
Take care, guys.
You like Bennett, huh?
I like Bennett.
We like Bennett.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Like I said, quality over quantity. When we have guests on Pro and Bro Wrestling, they're very special to me. It's like we won't have any guests that I would have never met. It's going to be either I've met you or I've been in contact with you on social media somehow, some way. And this is like icing on the cake for me.
Well, two of my biggest passions outside of my wife, Hart, is wrestling and Power Rangers, and he's into both. So automatically, that just makes us best friends right off the bat. It's crazy. And he's basically like my age too, man. There's so much in common. And he's living the dream. He gets to be in WWE. He is in it. He's in it, and
he's in it to win it.
Yeah, man. It's awesome. Super happy for him.
Very happy for him.
Such a chill guy too.
Such a chill guy. I hope we got all the answers we wanted. I hope we didn't cut him off too soon, did we?
No. I felt like we got a good gist of it.
Yeah. So much fun.
So much fun always. But besides that, again, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, a big week for pro wrestling, right? You just
extremely
left
big week
Starcast,
in Chicago.
bro.
Starcast 3. I had a wonderful time. I got to meet all the fans, the loyal fans. I don't think I met anyone under 15 years old.
Right.
Because these are loyal. What do you call them?
Smarks.
And they're loyal.
Yeah.
So I was able to do a signing on that Friday, and I was able to do a panel discussion Friday night, wrestling with stereotypes. And I didn't know what to expect because I was kind of going in it blindly, but it's a bucket list opportunity that I can check off, being a part of a panel speaking about stereotypes in wrestling and being able to share my story. I said with Bennett, and I say it all the time, several times a day, don't die with a story and you tell it. And I was able to share my story, and it was a packed crowd, a couple hundred people there for my panel discussion, and I met so many wonderful fans. I say every day is a coming out experience because I meet people at the gym, I meet people at the airport, and they look at me, they ask me what I do, and I say I wrestle, and I know they immediately Google me, and they can either be like, oh wow, what a bold move that I did, or they can not like the moves that I make. But the people that I met at Starcast that said that my story inspired them, certain people were like flipping out and crying.
Oh,
and
wow.
very emotional. So it's very important for me to connect with these fans.
Yeah.
Because obviously I made a difference in their life.
Of course.
So to do these conventions is just like so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
Man. So much fun.
And I hope this becomes an annual thing for you. You know, I hope you're there. Starcast 10.
Yeah, well, Starcast 4 is going to be in Baltimore, I think.
Oh,
so.
it's already confirmed?
Yeah, it's already confirmed.
Wow.
They're already advertising
Jeez.
it. I had my mom in the house. She's my bodyguard. So
Sure.
she flew out for the occasion. I ran into guys like some of my personal favorites, DDP, who's in great shape. I think he was doing a yoga class maybe that Sunday.
Of course he was.
But health is wealth.
Yeah.
I practice what I preach, and he's all about health as well. So I ran into him, good friend of mine. But all in all, it was a wonderful experience at StarCast. I made it a point to tell people maybe you'll see me on AEW someday.
Yeah.
And the place,
yeah.
The place popped. So popped.
Yes, of course.
So they were excited to hear that. But again, All Out was incredible, man.
Oh my God, yeah.
Jericho,
You know, with all these wrestling companies starting up and just wrestling as like renaissance right now, there's some pros and cons to that. The pro is there's more wrestling for us, right? And the con is, as wrestling fans, we want to go to these shows, but there's so many big shows now that the wrestling fans can't go because of like financial reasons, you know, like you have to buy tickets to go to Chicago, and like, you know, where it was before, like once a year, now there's almost like a big wrestling show maybe once every 4 months, where like, you know, like a StarCast would, like they'll make a whole like big weekend out of it.
Yes.
But I guess that's a great problem to have, is more content. But speaking of All Out, there's so many things that I want to cover, but we'll just hit like the main points that I thought was super interesting.
But also, did you hear what CM Punk said?
Yes.
CM Punk made a valid point by saying, don't be fooled by, the war, that there's a war. Just enjoy the wrestling, whether it's WWE, AEW, NXT, or wrestling in Japan. This is a great time to be in wrestling, and watch it all.
Yeah.
Just watch it all.
Yeah.
So he was at StarCast. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but yeah, don't be fooled that there's a war going on.
Right.
Just you have an opportunity to just watch it all and enjoy it.
And speaking of CM Punk, this past weekend was a big moment because this is the first time that CM Punk did anything wrestling related. For him being in StarCast and having a panel and finally talking to wrestling fans. He hasn't done that in so many years. He's done so many things, hosting TV shows. He was in a horror film. You know, his wife wrote a successful book. So he was doing stuff outside of wrestling. But for him to come back to hardcore wrestling fans, you know, that was really cool.
Hardcore.
And, you know, he told a funny story with the whole Rock incident when The Rock called him at the Staples Center when Raw went off the air when he was shooting the Page movie. And I don't know if you saw that, but I saw the interview during the YouTube channel Inside the Ropes. And he was saying, like, the reason why when The Rock called him, he didn't pick up, right? And fans were kind of disappointed. But the reason why he didn't pick up was because he was on his way to walk his dog, Larry, but he was on an elevator where there were no service. So the call didn't go through, whatever, and as soon as he got out of the elevator, he said he got like 86 messages. And automatically, he got sad because he thought like, oh shit, did someone die? Because everyone's like, pick up your phone, pick up your phone, pick up your phone. And he just thought like, someone passed away? Like, so like later he found out that it was The Rock that called him, and immediately like he texted The Rock back like, hey, sorry, I was walking my dog, and The Rock texted him back right away like, oh, like it's all good, blah blah blah. And CM Punk said because of that interaction, they finally got to mend a little bit of fences with each other, because not necessarily they weren't in bad terms, but during that conversation, CM Punk texted him saying like, hey, listen, sorry if I was kind of a dick when I was like working with you in WWE.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and The Rock's like, oh, that's like water under the bridge, don't worry about it. But yeah, they were all like, they're I mean, they obviously they were friends for them to have like each other's number. But you know, Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment to hear. Like that, like for wrestling fans to hear that story on CM Punk's side.
To see him talk, he seemed happy, man.
He seems content.
Yeah, he seemed happy and content. There was footage of him like in the ring.
Yeah, I saw
what
that.
the hell is that?
And he tripped on the second rope.
I'm like, what the hell is that? It's just like
it's funny. I like
what
it.
Call that cat bait, or what do they call that?
Oh, clickbait.
No, what did I say?
Cat bait.
Yeah, clickbait. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Clickbait. That's what he was doing.
That's funny, man. I like it. He was like, "Oh, I forgot to do this," and he was just like, "Should I take a bump?" That was great. And also, did you hear about Chris Jericho's championship?
Oh, getting lost?
Yeah.
Man, I hope it's like the genius that Jericho is, like saying, that he's lost the title, and then maybe CM Punk will have it or something.
They found it today.
Oh, they found it?
The police department found it today. They actually tweeted a picture and "Hey Jericho, we have something for you," and it's the police, Florida Police Department or whatever,
Wow.
and they have the championship.
So I wonder. So is a police officer holding it?
Yeah.
So I wonder how they found it.
Maybe it was through the airport. Maybe he packed it as he checked it in or something.
Oh, yeah. I thought someone had stole it from him at where he was eating.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the full story because I don't think he actually said it. But AEW confirmed that the championship is found.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But of course, genius of him, not even worried.
Yeah.
Him chilling in his pool.
Yeah, he's playing the part.
Cutting a minute and 15-second awesome promo.
Yeah. What he's saying, he was chilling in the jacuzzi, I'm in front of him, behind my big mansion.
Yeah, and he's pouring the whatever's in
a
there.
little bit of bubbly.
Yeah, bubbly, and then he puts the glass on and he drinks out of a bottle. I mean, just classic stuff, man.
He's the best, man. He's the best. And
Classic.
did you see that Instagram footage that he put out? And it's what's his name? The Mambo number 5. Dun, and he goes. There's a snippet of him kept on saying a little bit bubbly, in the sun, a little bit bubbly all night long. The guy that's saying Mambo number 5.
What, they made a video?
Jericho did.
Oh, he did?
And it's on his Instagram.
Oh,
it's so
goodness. Funny. Man, he's first AEW champion.
Yes.
First ever unified, what was he?
First ever unified world champion, holding the WWF and WCW champion at the same time. And he's a lot of firsts.
Yeah, and he's 48 years old, right? 47, 48?
Yes, and he's also in the record books for holding the IC champion a record number of 9 times or something. No one's still...
Wow.
The Miz is up pretty close, but I think Jericho is still the man that has held the IC champions more than anyone else.
And then the finish of his match with Paige, just out of nowhere, that elbow, did you see it?
Yeah, that's his new finishing move.
That's his new finishing move?
Yeah, because even with...
one of his more finishing maneuvers, he's got, the code breaker,
yes.
He's got the walls of Jericho, so he's got 3 in his arsenal.
So with that finishing move, he debuted it during the match with Kenny Omega, and the reason why I thought it was so cool was because before the match with Kenny Omega, he had a lot of video footage on Instagram of him practicing the move on a punching bag.
Oh, really?
So when he was training MMA style, he kept on going like that.
Ah, okay.
So then when he used it on Kenny Omega, it made sense. Everyone's like, "Oh, there it is! There's the move that he's been practicing."
I see, and it can catch you out of nowhere.
Yeah, he can do it to anyone. It's smart. I like it.
He is just always reinventing himself, and I love the videos that they show before the match, the hype videos.
Oh, yeah.
When he's in his office cutting the promo and he's hitting himself. It just looks so real the way it's taped, too.
He's having so much fun, man. He's so great.
And his trunks, his gear,
I like it.
I love it.
Chris Jericho, I applaud him for going with the short trunks because sometimes you gotta dare to be bold. But, man, I felt in my own opinion, he's always looked weird to me in short trunks. I thought long tights is is his jam, But speaking of Jericho being the first AEW champion, I personally like it. I personally get it, and of course they want to have some not to say that Paige is not prestigious, but a prestigious wrestler to hold the championship belt. So when they debut it on TNT, it's gonna be more eyes on the product, But it's so interesting. After All Out, I went to AEW's Instagram account and I was just reading some of the comments. And we all know that, sure, sometimes wrestling fans are hard to please. They'll always have something negative to say. But to me, this is the first time that I felt that almost 50% of the people kind of turn on AEW.
They turned?
Yeah, a lot of the comments were like 50 negative, 50 positive, and saying like, oh, here goes WCW again. Oh, like a veteran wrestler not putting a guy over, just basically like WWE. And now it's so weird because like I'm so used to seeing people on WWE's Instagram account saying like, oh, watching AEW, and now I'm seeing stuff on AEW's account like WWE NXT's better. Can't wait for NXT. Like it's but it's again it's that fun.
I have
rivalry.
never in my life typed on someone's feed saying this is better or that's better. Just watch it, have fun.
I know.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah, but at least that's one thing though. Like wrestling fans are passionate.
I'm passionate too, man.
Yeah, they're gonna say all that, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna watch both. And, but it's really interesting. Again, that's the first time people turn on AEW. But I love the decision. I thought it was a great match. I love that they put some color on it with Jericho.
Yeah, it's all about storytelling. Yeah. So you got to get the machine behind AEW. So put the title on Jericho, the biggest heel, and eventually he'll slip on a banana peel. Yeah. Tell that story. He won. He's in the back talking shit and doing his thing and just being so cocky. He'll lose it, but let's tell that story first.
Aside from Shawn Michaels' championship reign, which I guess I'm biased because I only love it because I'm a huge Shawn Michaels fan, so I enjoyed when he had the belt and he had to overcome so many obstacles to keep the championship. That got me to watch all the pay-per-views, like, oh, did he survive Mankind? Did he survive Psycho Sid? But if it's not Shawn Michaels, I actually like it when the heel has the championship and like the baby face goes for the chase.
It's chasing, yes.
Yes, kind of like when I was rooting for Jeff Hardy to like beat Edge to finally become the WWE champion. Like that was like, oh, is it ever gonna happen?
Yes.
But like stuff like that, I really enjoyed.
Yes.
One thing that got me sad though, and again, this is not like shade to Cody or Brandy or anything because it's not their fault. But as a dog owner, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, fill me in.
Okay, so I love Cody's entrance, right? He had this whole like Star Trek like entrance to it where it started off being Brandy was walking the hallway wearing the Star Trek outfit. MJF followed, Diamond Dallas Page followed, and Brandy was walking Pharaoh like they always do in big matches. And Pharaoh was doing his part, just being like an amazing dog walking along. And as they were going through the tunnel and Cody rose up from under the stage, the pyros exploded and Pharaoh freaked out. Like dogs don't like fireworks. Dogs don't like pyros. That like mentally messes with them. So he was scared for his life. And I like as a fur dad, that just made me so sad, because Pharaoh like he didn't deserve that, and he was like scared for his life. And you could tell Cody tried to cover it because he didn't want to take that away from his entrance. And he was kind of like petting Pharaoh, saying like, it's okay, hey, come here, I got you, it's okay. But because of that, like Pharaoh didn't want to go anymore. Like they kind of had to like tug on him a little bit, like because Pharaoh always does a great job walking the entrance, and like he doesn't give him a hard time. But with the with the pyro, MJF, like Brandy had a hard time navigating Pharaoh, and then MJF kind of took over. It's like, come on, we got this, we're all right. But it was just so sad.
Yeah, I mean, he played it off, but yeah, it kind of upset you, huh?
Yeah, and also like Tony Khan got really mad at that too.
Oh, he did?
Like it was kind of like lesson learned, like a lot of people were commenting like, on the next show, please no dog abuse, like no dog abuse, please. So it's one of those things where you kind of like you live and you learn, and now he knows not to do that or include pyros and pharaohs around, But it was just like, I was like, oh man, that sucked.
But I love the entrance, how like it's always different with Cody with the big shows.
I love it.
I love it, man. I love it. What's he gonna do next?
Yeah, I just love Cody's because he has that like, his entrance always gives me a big match feel, right? And like again, this is one of the things that we both love is when they switch up their wrestling gear for big matches, or like different. Seth Rollins does it too, when it's just like, different entrance gears. So like now, like when it comes to action figures, especially like Zack Ryder, who switches up his gear a lot. Like if he sees like the red, white, and blue glasses, and you're like, oh, that's like what was the American? WWE has like a USA themed pay-per-view, but
Great American Bash.
Great American Bash, so you can tell like, oh, that's Great American
Yes.
Bash, you know. So
And that's something Jericho always said, you know, the more different types of gear you have,
Yeah.
the more merchandise you'll have.
yeah.
Yeah, he's smart.
And I love the psychology of Cody's match too, with Shawn Spears, the storyline being told, and you know, with Shawn Spears being partnered with Tony, makes him like a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that he kind of has like a mouthpiece, almost like a Paul Heyman.
Oh, you mean Tully?
Oh, sorry, Tully. Yeah, Tully. Sorry, Tully. It's
Tony,
like
I thought
Paul
you were talking
Heyman.
about the owner, but yeah.
You know, like it's really cool, and he gets treated like a main eventer.
Yes.
And
And how about the spine buster from Arn
Oh.
Anderson?
Arn still got it.
Like I said, when Arn is producing backstage, he's one guy that I'm always a nervous wreck over. I'm always a nervous wreck because one, I don't want to let him down. When he gives you something to do,
Yeah.
you have to deliver it.
Yeah.
If he tells you what to do, you have to deliver it.
Yeah.
And if it's shitty, like I feel like shit, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't want to let Arn down, but for him to have his moment out there,
Yeah.
that was a enforcer pop. You know, you know, you talk about the Road Warrior pop, the old school guys talk about it when the Road Warriors would come out, it was a humongous pop if they would wrestle in Chicago or anywhere. But that was an enforcer pop. Man.
Yeah.
And he stuck Shawn Spears, but yeah, I love seeing the old timers getting there and bump around.
And it's almost like nostalgia with Tully and Arn Anderson being the original Four Horsemen, and now they're like on opposite sides.
Yes,
which
yes.
is really, really cool.
Yes.
And speaking of Arn Anderson, he is joining the podcast world starting, I think, next week with Conrad Thompson.
Oh, he's joining us?
So Monday is Eric Bischoff, 83 Weeks. Tuesday is going to be Arn Anderson's new podcast with Conrad Thompson. And then Wednesday is Tony Schiavone. Thursday, I think it's like Grilling with JR.
Okay.
And then Friday is Bruce Pritchard. So now he's like a part of like the podcast world with Conrad Thompson.
Well, yeah, I had the opportunity to meet Conrad Thompson.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I met him at
Nice.
StarCast. He's the one that originally booked me for StarCast, and I dealt with Andreas, a third-party guy, from then on.
How's Conrad in person?
Yeah, he's nice. I met him before my my panel. He's very nice and welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What'd you think about Pac replacing Jon Moxley?
Like I said, Moxley, he's got a staph infection that is so important to take care of.
I think it's actually worse than that.
It's worse?
Like it's another level. I forgot the name of it, but they mentioned it. It's actually, he does have a staph infection, but it's like to the next level. Well, like where like as if he doesn't take care of it, it could be like deathly.
Yeah, of course, man. You got to take care of that shit. But seeing my main man Pac go out there, who I love, and seeing him stick it to Kenny Omega was great. It was like the reaction I got from the fans was almost like Undertaker-ish, because they don't expect Kenny to lose.
Yeah.
But for Pac to come in there, that's how you tell a story. Have Pac get over, because both guys are over.
Yeah.
Kenny's okay. So for him to lose,
Kenny's okay.
is good. So what's next for Pac?
I think it's beneficial that Pac replaced Moxley, because this just furthered the storyline of Moxley and Kenny Omega. But at the same time, you asked what's next for Pac. After the show, Hangman Page had a press conference, and he was very down on himself. You know, like he's like, yeah, man, that was like the best match. I mean, the biggest match of my life, and I lost, and I don't know what's next. And then Pac interrupted him, kind of like, you know, doing the heel, like, oh, boo-hoo, like, you know, and like, so I think that's what's next for Pac, to continue the Pac original Page Pac storyline that never was. Because that was supposed to be the first AEW show, but then it didn't work out, because at that time Pac was still with Dragon Gate, and he was the world champ, and he didn't want to lose on TV. But now that he's not the champ anymore, you know, I think he's okay with doing business with AEW if he does, if Page does go over, because the original plan was for Page to go over. But yeah, man, I think it's really cool for AEW to put Pac over like that, because he's not an official AEW guy yet, and it's an outsider, you know.
Sure.
But again, it's the unpredictability. It's what's great about it. And I was reading some of because you know, I'm a fan myself, so I'm always constantly strolling through the comments. I got time, you know. So a lot of people were saying like, wow, it's really cool that the elite doesn't go over every time. You know, like Kenny lost, the Young Bucks lost. And speaking of that, your homie Romy Rollins has to be so happy with that match, huh? Like I bet with the Lucha Brothers going over, he loves them.
Romy Rollins, who I was able to visit earlier in Rockford, Illinois. I met Romy Rollins at a VIP experience with WWE, so from friends to family. So they were able to see me at the meet and greet and all that stuff, and they were able to meet the Lucha. Yeah.
Awesome.
They were able to meet them, and they were so into Romy Rollins and his little brother Roman. They were just so into him. I think they might have gave them a mask or something like that. So they treated them like gold.
And he collects masks, right?
Romy Rollins?
Yeah.
I think he's got like Sin Cara's mask.
Yeah.
He might have Ray's mask, but I was able to see his
collection.
I was able to see his collection. I was able to play video games with him, hang out with his family. My mom was in the house.
What video games did you play?
What were we playing? We were playing Street Fighter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was whooping my ass.
And you went to his football practice too, right?
I went to his football practice. I talked to his teammates about being leaders and following your dreams, and not bullying and all that stuff. And they won their first game. And
did they?
Yeah, and the players think Romy Rome's dad, who's a coach on the team, Jose, thanked me for coming down and stopping by. So yeah, it's all about spreading that block tape message, strength in numbers. But Romy Rollins had a great time at the panel discussion. He's probably like the youngest AEW fan, you know.
He is. He really is.
So a lot of times when I was talking during the panel, I would curse. And it was late, too. I'd curse. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Romy Rollins. I'm sorry, I got to keep it PG. I would go off, off what I was talking about, like I do 99% of the time here.
Right.
Go off subject and be like, oh, I'm sorry, Romy Rollins. For cursing so much, but he's doing well in school, and it was good to see him.
That's awesome, man. And not to get into like the WWE stuff right now, but I just want to quickly mention. Did you see, like, first of all, Finn Balor? He's got some time off, right? Because he recently just got married.
Yes.
Did you see his new haircut?
Oh, is he like bald?
Yeah, he shaved his head.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen that too. He's looking like back in the day, like Randy Orton. Remember when Randy had the bald head? And
that was my favorite look for Randy.
When he had the shaved head and he was so tan.
And he was like crazy lean.
Because he wasn't lifting because his shoulders were kind of banged up. So I don't know if you know what a body blade is, but it's like one of those shakers like people do for rehab.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I would ever see him like work out with when he was a little banged up. But yeah, he couldn't lift for a while because he was just dealing with injuries. So that's why he looked so thin.
Yeah, but that was like my favorite version of Randy. I think that was like him, like when people are starting to put him over John Cena a little bit because he was just a baby face at that time. He just got out of Legacy, and that was really cool. And he didn't wear wristbands.
Oh yes. Jericho says that Randy's the best worker in WWE.
I believe that. A lot of people said that.
He's the best worker, but he's lazy.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But it's weird. Not like lazy in a bad way. It's just like smart. It's
like working smart.
Yeah, working smart and not doing anything crazy and doing... It's hard to explain.
But at the end of the day, like a lot of people say that Randy's the most consistent, like...
I've never seen a bad match. I'm actually going to be getting in the ring first time in 2019.
That's cool.
Because
that's right.
I've been involved with so many other projects I've been involved in. And I've got like 3 matches lined up. So actually tomorrow I'm going to work out in the ring. Just work up a sweat a little bit. Maybe you'll be able to come and check it out.
I want to, man.
But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to just kind of get back in the groove of things. Yeah. And it's not like I haven't wanted to wrestle. I've just been busy with other projects.
Sure.
Now it's time to kind of get my groove back, sweat it out a little bit, and go from there. It'll be very exciting. I think I'll be in North Carolina is my first show, and then I'll be in California, and then New York, New Jersey. So, yeah, making moves, baby.
Sure, 2019 debut.
Yeah, exactly. 2019 debut. My ass is gonna be sore as a bitch, man.
I love it.
Ooh, I'm gonna be sore.
That's a good place to wrap it up, man. Such a good interview with Bennett.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Referee Shawn Bennett. I'm so proud of him. Making moves, baby.
And he's just such a likable guy, and I wish him nothing but success down the line, whatever he decides to do, whether it's to continue with WWE in the long run or whatever it is, collect more action figures, whatever he wants. He just seems like a super chill guy, and I dig that.
But he's just getting started. He's just getting started.
He's younger than me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's just getting started, man. So thumbs up to Shawn Bennett.
Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. This has been episode 22 of Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. Got anything else to say?
Hey, brother, block the hate, salute the great. Why reinvent the wheel, baby? Block the hate, salute the great.
See you guys next time.